You might be hiding the most effective client acquisition tool that you have in your entire arsenal of care. You might be hiding that secret weapon behind a lot of other activities in your business that you don't necessarily love as much, you might not necessarily be as good at, and it's certainly not generating you as much profits as it should be. So, what I want to talk about today is moving labs from behind where they currently exist in the vast majority of practitioners' business models. And you guys, I'm talking about from, your health coaches and nutritionists all the way up through NDs, MDs, specialist therapists. There are a lot of you who lean into the precision and functional medicine testing that is available now, and wisely so, right? Because as advances in medicine happen, as our understanding of even like simple blood work panels looked at through the functional lens or looked at through a therapy lens, it doesn't matter. Like, we've come so far that we are wise to include labs wherever we can in our client care, in our patient care, in our health consulting packages. Totally wise. But let me share what's happening with you. I'm going to make sure that you have some visuals here. Normally I would draw on my iPad, but for some reason my iPad is not speaking to my video setup today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open some Canva assets that I made with this book. So if you haven't read Get Cash Pay Clients, How Upfront Labs Create a Wildly Profitable Health Business with Less Work, this is a book that I created because it was reflective of the number one most financially successful, most impactful, and most fulfilling funnels that the members of our Practitioner Accelerator Mastermind used in 2020, sort of like the end of 2024, all of 2025. And then the book came out at the end of 2025. And now, of course, we're here in early 2026. And I wanted to make sure that practitioners everywhere understood what we were doing with a lab test funnel and how come it worked. Okay. But today, whether or not you actually build a lab test funnel in the way that I believe you should build it to protect your brand, to automate your marketing and sales process, to protect your time, whether or not you build a lab test funnel, like a proper lab test funnel, the way that it should be done, you can still take advantage of this core, simple, easy change by simply moving labs from where they currently are in your practice to a different place in the sequence, in the timing sequence. Okay. So if you have read this book, let me make sure. I want to take you to a page, you guys. Let me think of what's an easy way to do this. You know what I'm going to do is, if you have the book Get Cash Pay Clients, then you already have this workbook that I'm about to show you. But let me also tell you that the book is available on Amazon. So I'm going to show you like a sort of a backwards way of like a secret back door to get into having the workbook, even if you didn't buy the book. Okay. So the book is not expensive, you guys. It's like the book is $9.95. Okay. But if you get the book on Amazon, let me show you the Amazon link. Okay. So let's say that you're to go to Amazon right now. Okay. And just use the scan code, and that will take you directly to the Amazon page where the book is sold. Okay. I'm not even telling you have to buy it. You don't have to buy it. Okay. I think you should buy it because it's a great book, but you don't have to buy it. Just flip through on Amazon and it gives you a preview of the book. And when you look at the preview of the book, you will be able to scan the preview code. Okay. I did this on purpose because if you don't have the $9.95 or whatever Amazon's charging you to buy the book nowadays, if you don't have that, I at least want you to have the workbook. Okay. So you can scan the code and you can get the workbook. Okay. If you get the book through me, right? So if you buy the book through the funnel that my team and I built, then of course you have all these supportive videos where I help you implement every single element of the book chapter by chapter, okay? But we're talking about a very fundamental premise that you can put into play whether or not you build the funnel, like I said earlier, okay? So when you get that book, or even if you don't, but you go to Amazon and you scan the code, okay? If you go to Amazon, look at the preview of the book, scan the code with your phone, you're going to be taken to a page that will give you a comprehensive workbook that helps you get through this book, okay? Now, I just want you to buckle up and be present with me, okay? Because right now, my guess is that you probably put out a fair amount of content, okay? Trying to get people's attention, trying to position yourself as an authority, as well you should. You should be doing those things, okay? And then after you've gone to the point of, marketing people, connecting with these people, putting out information that had them feel like, oh yeah, this person is smart. I actually do want to be consuming this person's content. After you've done all of that, and maybe you've even asked them to opt in for something, a lead magnet, a free checklist, whatever, and you've probably automated some emails so that you're trying to grow that know, like, and trust factor and get them feeling really comfortable with you. And then at some point, we try to move in and be of service to them by selling them our offers, right? Typically, that might look like you offer a free consult or an entry level priced like paid consult. And then on that consult, what do we do? Okay. Well, if and only if you're good at doing those consults in such a way that you convert them into paying clients or patients, only then are you getting labs ordered, right? Only then. So that means you've done the hardest part. I don't know. You guys could let me know if you're here, if you're attending live in chat. You could just let me know in the chat. Like, is marketing your favorite part of your business? Yes or no? Is sales your favorite part of your business? And by sales, I actually mean those consults where you are getting the information, you're connecting with the person, you're talking, you're also having to put forward an invitation to work with them. Like, are those the marketing and sales part? Is that the favorite part of your business? My guess is no, right? My guess is that's probably not your favorite part. Your favorite part is probably helping the people that you got all of that education in order to be able to help. That would be my guess, okay? Now, that what's funny is the thing that could make people ready and willing to work with you is probably not being offered to them until you got them all the way through that cycle. Meaning you put out all this content and they followed you for a while. Maybe they opted in for something. Maybe you nurtured them. Then you got them on a call. Then they agreed to say yes because your sales conversation went well. And now, after all of that long ass customer journey to actually become your client or patient, now you're going to run labs. And what do you think those labs are going to show them? Those labs are going to show them they need you. So, my question for you is, wouldn't we be smarter to put the lab way at the beginning of the customer journey? In other words, when we do that forward facing content out in the world, wouldn't we be wise to, before we did all that extra work, right? All of the extra content for months and months, all of the weeks or months long nurture sequences, and then we get them on a consult, and then we get them on a sales call, only for us to finally offer them labs that show how much they need us, right? So if you're following me so far, what I'm saying and what this entire book is about is, what if we had a conversation in our free content on free platforms that acknowledged, okay, you got this symptom, you got this pain point, you got this problem. Let's talk about that. Then we go ahead and illuminate Okay, well, if you got that problem, it can be this system of the body. And if it's, and if it's this system of the body, then I have a test that you can look at that, right? So if we're going to have a forward facing content that talks about their symptoms, think about how much you get to show off your knowledge, where you could say, hey, if you're having this symptom, it can typically be one of a few things. I'm going to talk about one of them today. If that symptom is hailing from chronic gut problems, it might look like this and it might look like this and it might look like that, right? If that sounds like you, and if you're curious and you want to confirm whether or not it is your gut, I've made it possible for you to have access to the same lab that I use for my patients and clients when I hear these symptoms in their intake forms in my first meeting, knees to knees, where I get to consult with them. Then I know that that's my first line of defense, is to go ahead and get the data that we need so we can find the root cause, get rid of it, and then the problem will go away. So when you have a symptoms-based content that goes out, really, it stops the scroll because they see their own symptoms in it. And then you pull them into your world where you have a discussion saying, hey, if it's that, it could be this, it could be one of a few different systems, really throwing you some red flares that there's a problem in your body, in your life, that needs to be fixed right now. Here, when I ask these questions, when I talk to my patients, or hear these kind of things from my clients or patients, then I go ahead and order this test. I'm not your doctor. We don't know each other yet, right? But I have made it possible for you to have access to the same test that I use with my clients. Why don't you go ahead and get the data that you need? And if you find a problem on that test, I'll give you a video that helps you understand what the results mean. And if you see that there's a problem, then of course we can meet up and I can help you put this in the past. Do you see how, if we position the labs way up there at the front, then there's a few things that are going to happen for your business. Okay. I'm going to give you a visual on this because I know not everybody loves to kind of talk through things. Sometimes having a visual of those things is much easier, which is why I told you either go to the Amazon and use that QR code. Okay. Or you can get the book from me. I'm going to, one time before I dive into the Canva graphics, I'm going to make sure, if you want the implementation support, like I have a whole series of videos that go with each chapter and each exercise in the workbook. That is what you'd want to do if you want that kind of support implementing what we're talking about. But if you just want to grab the workbook and follow along with me, then use that scan code, go to Amazon, look at the preview, and you're just going to be taken straight to the workbook, and you can just get the workbook and go along with me. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and take a peek. I'm going to switch gears here. So let me hide this out of our way for a second. Okay, now I want to share screen. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you, literally, this is my Canvas screen. Yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and share that. Okay. So what I'm asking you to do is really switch from this traditional approach. Let's just kind of zoom in here. I'm going to make this nice and big. Okay, I'm going to switch back over here so I can tell whether or not you can follow along with me. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can see this clearly, okay? And literally, you can go get the workbook if you want, okay? But here's what I'm asking you to consider. If we consider the traditional approach that we talked about first, you guys, what are we doing? I consider this a very cost-first approach because it costs us our time, it costs us our money to create content. Okay. Now, when I say that it costs us, money, when it costs us money and time, well, you might say, well, Joy, I'm winging it myself. I'm making the content myself. So it doesn't really cost me money. Bullshit. It costs you money because if you charge, I don't know, what are you, I live in California. My functional medicine doctor, it's $850 an hour, right? So it's like, if you can make $850, or let's say you work in an area where it's more rural and you don't collect those kind of fees, maybe you're collecting $300 an hour. I don't care. Okay. But every hour that you spend in Canva making designs or on a social media platform doing content and interacting with people, that's basically costing you $800 an hour. So it is costing you time, okay, obviously, but it's also costing you money. Just keep that in your head, okay? And then you put out that content and you're basically hoping for leads, okay? So if we're looking at this side over here, we're kind of saying, okay, we're going to start off investing our own time and our money. We hope that that content lands and gets us attention. And typically, just because the volume of people that are on social media is infinitely larger than the number of people who actually need and want our services, right? So we automatically know we're going to get low conversion in the sea of humanity. Some of those people are only online trolling or like watching cat videos or whatever. They don't even care. You know what I mean? So, like, it's only the people who have the symptoms that we can help them solve that are actually even going to stop at our scroll. Everybody else is just going to pass on by because it doesn't resonate with them because they don't have that problem, right? So there's this whole like, okay, we're going to put this content out, we're going to hope for leads. The conversion in an environment that's that vast is just it's just numerically it is going to be low conversion rate, okay? And then we drop them into either, well, now they're following us and therefore we hope that that's going to turn into a sale, okay? And we don't know that, right? But we hope that our know, like, and trust factor goes up and they buy. And then we get them on that sales call and we're hoping that they make money. So ultimately, you can see on the left-hand side here, it's high cost for us, it's low return on our investment, and it's very slow growth, okay? Here, if we compare that over here on the right-hand side to looking at this one here, okay, if we look at the lab offering labs up front, okay, this is a revenue first approach. And some of you might be going, why? How so? What do you mean? How could this possibly make me money up front? Where here's the deal. If we put out symptoms-based content that directly offers them access to get the data they need to drive smart decisions about their health, then we can point them to the lab test. And even before we did a consult with them, even before they've paid for a visit with us, we are going to collect that money up front, okay? Because when you offer an upfront lab, you can add on an education and resource fee. Okay. Now let's talk about that for a second. Okay. Because I'm going to, here, I'll stop share. I realize that a lot of you would be saying, but wait, I live in California, for example, and I'm not allowed to upcharge that lab. So let's just do really easy numbers here. Let's say that you're such a functional medicine expert that you can look at a good comprehensive functional blood test panel that cost you maybe $80. Let's just call it $100 for round numbers. Okay. It costs you $100 to get all the indicators that you need to drive, to have good data to help this person make decisions. Okay. If that's $100, well, then you are allowed to add an education and resource fee. Now, if you read the book, I talk about something called the marketing golden hour, which is this time between when they order that test, when they're like, yeah, this person is making sense to me. I would like the data that I need to see if this is what's happening in my body. The time they say yes to that and the time that they actually get the test results back, you sit, like my head is right in between these hands, right? You sit right here in the middle of this marketing golden hour because their curiosity is piqued. They're waiting for the results. Now, you order tests all the time, so you're not anxious when you're waiting for results, but regular people who don't have medical expertise, they are, right? So they're a little nervous, they're a little anxious, they're definitely anticipating the results, okay? So between the time they buy and the time they get the results, that is a marketing golden hour for you to connect with them, for you to provide video information, preferably, because when they see you on video and they see you talking and you're looking right into the camera as if you're talking to any of your patients or clients that you've ever helped, they're going to hear in your voice how much you care. They're going to see the knowledge that you possess as you're talking to them, right? And don't you have a lot to say, right? Between the time that they're waiting for results and the time that those results come in, or when they ordered it and when they come in, like you probably have a lot to say on that specific topic, right? Of their symptoms, of their pain points. You can speak to a lot of those, and you can also assure them, hey, you know what? I've helped so many clients with challenges like this, so I don't want you to be hopeless. When data comes in, we'll have the right information we need to drive smart decisions. Your own body will act as a compass that will point us in the direction that we need to go to put these problems in the rearview mirror. And of course, you can speak directly to you can get into the weeds and share a little nerdiness about the test that you're ordering because you're an expert on that test, or you wouldn't have chosen to use it, right? That marketing golden hour, when you use the lab test funnel, it just sort of automates the delivery of those emails that point them to videos of you. And so it just happens, I call it auto magically, right? That you don't have to be like manually sending people emails. I would hate for you to have to do that. So the lab test funnel automates all of that. Okay. So you can make money on that upfront fee because you're providing any education and resources between the time they order it and the time they deliver it. Okay. So that education and resource, that's what allows you to add a fee. Okay. So in many cases, you can't like upcharge it. You can't be like, oh, this test is $100. I'm going to charge people $500 for it. You shouldn't be charging $500 for the upfront offer anyways, because you want to keep the upfront offer price so low. Why, you guys? What is the psychology of that? Okay. The psychology of that is if you had $100 offer and you were upcharging it by $400 because you want to charge the information, and maybe you even want to get that $400 in there because you would also like it to include the like a lab interpretation call with you, like a one-on-one interpretation call. I would push back on that you're better off just let them order the lab, right? And get all the content from you, which could include a video that's like, hey, I'm going to walk you through what these indicators on this test mean. If you want my help interpreting your results, you could book a call here. I think if you keep the upfront investment lower, you get a higher volume of people who will buy, right? So the lower the cost of the lab offer, the more likely that they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm really curious. I'm sick of this. I haven't solved the problem with my doctor. I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to go ahead and invest in this test and get the answers that I want. Okay. When the test is lower, the sales volume is likely to be much higher. Okay. And that's all I want for you. I want them to buy that test so that you're not interacting with another freebie seeker, tire kicker who just wants to download another PDF, but they're really never going to take action about their health. They're not going to get off their duff and do something about it. Now, okay, well, now I'm dealing with a buyer. I'm dealing with someone who will invest in their health. Okay. So that is how you can have money up front. So right at the beginning of your marketing, beginning of the customer journey, you can go ahead and be earning money. That's important for you because you can start earning a higher volume from those upfront lab sales. Yes, but it's also good for you because I have found that when practitioners get paid for their marketing because of that education and resources fee, or because maybe, for example, if you don't do this with lab tests, you can also do it with like supplements or those kind of things. When you're making money from your upfront marketing, you're more motivated to do your marketing. Okay. So you absolutely can make money from the upfront lab invitations to acquire your clients. You absolutely can do that. You just have to provide some sort of education and resources, like the name of the fee implies, in order to be able to charge on top of that lab. Okay. So I'm going to go back to sharing screen here so you can kind of see this very simple breakdown. Okay. Again, this is in the workbook. There we go. So if you offer the labs upfront, then you are immediately earning profits, okay, from the education and resource fee. You're already making money right at the beginning. And that's an easier thing to say yes to, because the lab, let's say our cost was $100 and we added $40, let's say. So now it's $140. You're paying yourself $40 for everyone who just invests in themselves and gets that lab information. about themselves. You've weeded out the tire kickers. You know you're dealing with buyers who are ready to invest in your health. That the education and resources have already delivered value to the client. Okay. So the education and resources deliver value. The lab, access to the lab, being able to order it without going to their conventional doctor or dealing with their insurance or any of that nonsense. You gave them easy access to the lab. Okay. And now that makes it much easier for you to land clients because you've weeded out the freebie seekers. You know you're dealing with buyers. The data on the lab itself will help them see that they need you. Okay. So that gives us a completely different outcome, right? Our marketing funnel itself becomes profitable. And then when we get on those sales calls, we are dealing with much more qualified prospects. We have the data from the lab itself, which shows them that they need us. So in other words, their body's telling them they need us. We're not having to do as much salesiness. You know what I mean? And then it's much easier lift to turn those conversations, those lab interpretation sessions, which by the way, you can charge for, right? So you can charge for the lab up front. Maybe that $100 test you made at $140, you're now making $40 on that. Then if they want the private interpretation, you can say, hey, my private interpretations are normally $500, but because you bought this lab test, I'm going to give it to you for $300 and we're going to go over this in depth. And then we can come up with a plan for you together, right? Then you're also making money on the call. So you're making money on a consult that most of you used to do for free. Okay. And it's easier for them to be willing to pay for that consult because you've been providing value while they were waiting for the lab test results. Okay. Questions about that? Feel free to throw them in the chat. Okay. But you can see right and left here, we're either starting with this traditional model, which is costing us, or we're leading with a labs first approach and we're making money at the very tippy top of our funnel. And we're doing a whole bunch of other things that makes the entire customer journey easier. Okay. Now, before I get out of here, I want to switch views on this. And I just want to show you that is one exercise. Okay. So let me make sure you can see this. Yeah. That is one exercise to help you understand how to move labs to the front of your funnel. Okay. There are tons of exercises, literally for every single chapter in the book. There is support for you, right? So like, hey, am I even talking to my avatar in a way? My avatar is just the person you want to sell to, right? Am I even talking to the customers that I want in language that would resonate with them? Well, there's help with that. Okay. Are you describing their symptoms the same way they describe their symptoms? There's a worksheet for that. Okay. If you recognize your content is not currently landing those people's attention and pulling them into your world, there's a worksheet to help you transform your content. Okay. Now, I know that I gave you guys the Amazon. I told you could always go to Amazon and just scan that if you wanted to get the workbook for free. You totally could do that. Okay. But obviously the book is explaining in much more depth, so like the workbook is not the book itself. Okay. There's even stuff in here, you guys, about, okay, well, how do I manage my sales conversations when I do the lab explanation video? How do I do that? When I get them on the call, what do I say? What is my framework for closing more sales in an elegant way that doesn't feel sleazy? It feels like proof that you have a system and an invitation for them to take advantage of that system at different price points. Okay. So there's even support for you in that workbook, in that process. It's in the book too, but the workbook just helps you execute. I want to make sure that we boil this down to its simplest components. Okay. The one thing that I want you to take away from today's conversation is consider that you might be hiding your sales secret weapon behind your marketing, your nurturing, your sales, your consultations, and then your ordering labs. You might be having people go through this slow rolling, slow system, which might means you might be slow walking your own profits. Okay. I just want to wake you up to that one fact. When what you could be doing is you could reverse it. You could put out content that addresses their problems. Listen, I know that you've got this pain, this problem. I hear you. Let's talk about how it could be this system of the body. Share a little your super geeky medical knowledge that I love, but don't overwhelm them, right? Don't drown them in too much information, and say, "Hey, you know what? I invite you to take a look. I've made it possible for the lab that I use with my patients to be accessible to you at a very affordable price, so you get the data you need to decide whether or not you need to take action on this. And if you do, you'll have the information to get a hold of me, and I would be more than honored to support you with that." We can do that right at the beginning of our funnel. So then we start making profitability. If we want to charge for those consults, more profitability for you. Okay. And then the conversion on those consults into actual patients and clients is infinitely higher. Okay. So on average, we see people who are converting at 30% or under, converting at 50% or over. So that means for every 10 consult calls, if you're closing less than 3 of those, you're going to be closing, or I can't guarantee what you're going to be doing. I don't know what lab you're offering. I don't know how good you are at speaking to your people. I don't know how well you'll follow the sales process that I teach in the book on how to turn those conversations into enrollment conversations. I don't know, right? But in our community, in the Practitioner Accelerator Mastermind that I lead, typically they come in at 30% or under enrollment rates from consult calls, and they get to 50% or over. And the vast majority of them who are doing lab test funnels are getting to that 70, 80% close rate. And then I have them bump up their prices. And so the conversion rate might fall down a little bit, but they're also making way more money doing less work, right? So I don't care about that. My end goal is, can I get them to be more profitable, more fulfilled, doing what they want with clients who appreciate them? That's more where my jam is. Okay. All right. So big takeaway from you today, for you today, look at your own flow. If you're doing a lot of content and a lot of nurturing and a lot of follow up, and then you finally do the sales call and then you order labs, consider doing a 3-month test of, okay, well, what if I put my content out and I invited them to get the lab? Make sure that you are ordering labs through a signing physician, because remember, when people are not yet your patients, like I talk with health attorney Lisa Frawley. I'm like the biggest fangirl of hers. She's been in the health and wellness space forever. She is my go-to expert whenever I'm not sure about something. I might even have something cool here for you from her. Yes, I do. Yeah, let me put this code up here. She has a free disclaimer, like a mini disclaimer for when you're offering things online in the health and wellness space. I highly recommend that you take advantage of it. Now, if you scan that QR code and you go to the page, it's going to look like you have to pay for it. Okay. So don't send me an email being like, it's not free. You forgot to put the code. Okay. So you have to add the code JOY, JOY. That's my name. And that's because she's the legal expert that I go to so often that she's like, here, let me give you this cool gift for your audience. You know what I mean? So if you go and want that free mini disclaimer, you absolutely can get it. You just need to make sure to put in the code JOY, JOY, my first name. Okay. And you can have that, but you always want to make sure that you are not, you don't ever want to give the illusion that you are diagnosing, treating, prescribing, like being the medical director of care for someone. And if you think about it, ordering labs for someone who is not your patient client, you have no written agreement with them, that's dumb. Like, I'm sorry, that's dumb. I can't be your lawyer. I can't give you legal advice. I always go to Lisa Frawley when I need it for you guys. You need to suss out your own legal information, just to kind of cover my own butt here. Okay. But that just doesn't make any sense. As soon as you order labs, just like as soon as you write a prescription for someone, you are saying they're under your care. When you order labs, it gives that same perception. So you don't have any legal protection at that point, right? So you always want to choose the signing physician option when you are using labs in the capacity that I'm talking about now. That is covered in great detail in this book. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of more things before I let you go, but I do want to give you access. Okay. Well, if I wanted to order labs and I wanted them to be through a signing physician, where do I have that option? Okay. Well, my friends at Avexia have waived the setup fee for a separate account. You can have a separate account at Avexia, and you can just choose, okay, all my prospects, anyone who I'm offering labs as a client acquisition tool as part of my marketing efforts, I'm going to have those labs come in through a separate account and Avexia. And in that account, I'm always only choosing to let people order that lab through the signing physician. Doesn't that make sense? Because then there's no twisted misconception that, oh, well, you ordered that lab for me. Therefore, you are acting as my doctor, and therefore you are my care and I'm your responsibility. Like that just kind of goes away, right? Because it's ordered under a completely different medical license. Okay. So my advice, like I like you guys to keep it really, really clean. Your prospects, order through the signing physician, keep them on a separate lab account, separate. People who are in your clinic or already your patient, or they're your coaching client and you already have that legal agreement in place, okay, then yeah, order on your regular account, order them, whatever, do what you normally would do. Just like if they're already your patient, you would call in their prescription to the pharmacy or something like that, right? But to me, that definitely gives the perception that you are their doctor, that agreement is already there. So keep it separate, keep it clean, okay? If there are any questions about that, obviously, please feel free to post them in the chat and I will make sure to address them. Okay. But if there's one switch that I would ask you to make today, okay. And again, I will show this one more thing up here that I really want you to have. Okay. So if you do not already have the book, okay, I highly recommend that you get the book through this funnel, even better than on Amazon, because when you buy it through the funnel my team made, you get access to a comprehensive portal, like a member portal that has all of these videos that guide you chapter by chapter by chapter through actually implementing what you learn in that book. Okay, well, how do I talk to my clients? How do I put out content that makes sure that I'm not just sitting here rattling off my medical knowledge and scaring them away, but I'm actually having a conversation about their pain points in language that they can understand. If we talk over our clients' heads, like if I use a bunch of marketing terms that you guys don't understand, you're going to be like, oh God, I can't even listen to that girl. She says a whole bunch of things that like I don't even understand. You know what I mean? So it makes sure that you understand how to get their attention, how to speak their language, then how to offer the labs in a way that grows your following, grows your email list, and automates the delivery of all that education and resources, right? And then it also even goes so far as to walk you through, well, how do I get on that sales consult? How do I get on the consult and do the interpretation in such a way that I am really highly likely to close a sale? Okay. So I suggest setting up how you present your offers, how and when you go into the details about their lab, how far, how do you navigate questions? Because I guarantee you, you guys, there's going to be people who they'll book that paid consult with you, but they'll kind of expect that paid consult to be 3 months, 6 months worth of care and a plan and everything that they need to do. And you need to know how to navigate those questions and those assertions that you should be doing more on that call. And they will happen to you. Okay. There's just people like that. I'm sorry. I wish there weren't, but there are. And you need to know how to navigate those conversations in a way that makes you look like the expert that you are, instead of like you've been backed into a corner by somebody who's trying to sort of suck out more information from you than they have paid for on this one consultation call. Okay. And all of that is completely doable. As business owners, we all need to know how to do that. But certainly you in the health and wellness field, you need to know how to protect yourself from over giving in such a way that you put yourself in hot water. Okay. You do not want to do that. It is in both your best interest and that person who bought the lab best interest that you guys don't cross any lines you shouldn't be crossing. And so it helps you understand how to navigate that call, understand. So I hope you get the book. If you get it, please DM me, ask me questions, let me know how it's going for you. Okay. I want to make sure that you guys know how to get a hold of me. If you scan that QR code, that takes you directly to my Instagram, and just DM me. I'm super, super reachable. So if you have questions about, can I apply the lab test funnel to my business? Is this a smart move for me? Like, reach out, let's chat. Okay. But the one main takeaway that I want for you today is to please consider that labs reveal how much people need you, right? They are an indicator, not from you, but from the person's own body that something needs attention. And when they have that indicator from their own body, the ease that you can glide them into investing in working with you, man, it's just night and day different from just going out to cold traffic, people who don't even know you, cold audiences on any platform, and trying to be like, you need me. You know what I mean? It's their body saying, okay, I definitely need help. This person gave me access to the test. This person provided helpful information and some, anxiety reducing content while I was waiting for my test results. Why wouldn't I move forward with that person as opposed to some stranger? Why would I go Google it and try to find a stranger? I've been helped by this person. It just makes the most logical sense to move forward with you. Okay. So if you've been hiding labs behind your marketing, your sales process, your consults, and then finally ordering the labs, please, please reconsider positioning upfront. Take it for a test drive. Take it for a test drive for 30, 60, 90 days. And when you start seeing the difference, then you will feel called to actually build a lab test funnel, right? And the funnel is just, okay, how do I automate all of this so that I don't personally have to do it all, that people buy the lab and then all these automatic lovely things happen that give them access to the educational resource they want them to have, that give them access to book that paid lab interpretation session with me, that show off case studies of other people that I've helped. Wouldn't it be nice if that was happening while you're sleeping, while you're on vacation, while you're having fun with your kids or your friends, right? When you see that it works, then there's motivation to build the automated funnel that makes it work at scale. Okay. And that's what we're all about, right? I'm Joy Houston. I'm the CEO of HealAtScale. You're already good at healing. Everything that I will ever put in front of you is meant to help you to be able to do that at scale. All right. We'll leave it there for now, and I will see you next Tuesday. If you have questions, if this video will serve you, if this video will serve a friend, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment, share it with your friends. It does a lot to get this information in the hands of more practitioners. And I know for a fact that